Right, Adam, now I've had the privilege of interviewing quite a few professional punters, and one thing I've learned from virtually everybody, apart from those that you see on Twitter, is that a lot of work goes in to being a professional punter. It's not, 9 to 5, you'll probably be begging for it after a while. So how much work do you put into each day's racing?
I mean, I treat it as anyone would treat their own business. It is a business. I'm self-employed, and anyone who's started their own business or done their own thing knows that you could just work from dawn till dusk. But you've got to work smart. I think that's the key thing. You've got. I mean, the whole thing of being professional is that you have an opportunity to be professional. So you've got to work professionally. You've got to take breaks when you need to. It's the travelling is the problem for me, and so over the years I've had to evolve how much I've got to accept how much I can and can't do. If I've just done a round trip to Carlisle on a Thursday, and then I've got to get back to Catterick or Doncaster on the Friday, I feel I've got the responsibility of writing the blog. I don't have to do it, obviously. It doesn't pay me anything. I'm just putting it out there. But I want to do. There are certain boxes I want to tick. I want to get back. I want to write my notes up, have dinner. Mess about with my daughter. Do prep for tomorrow. And it, obviously time is running out already. It's 10 o'clock. And I've got to be up at 7 in case there's something I want to back. I want to be across the markets. I think that's why I sort of said, I work from September preparation work, the manic months really from October through to March, and then it tails off. And by late spring, summer, I really do need a break because it is just so full on. I used to work long hours, but I wasn't working smart. I was just sitting around a lot of the time waiting for the late darts results to come through, which is tiring in itself. But now I'm doing far more work, but there just aren't enough hours in the day. So you have to specialise in what you think you're best at.
And you talk about prep for tomorrow. So what would that be?
Well, as much as you watch as much video as you can. One of the many reasons why I started the blog was because I felt that looking at the Racing Post website, the close-ups and the analysis were often some way off the mark from what I'd seen that day. It might the analysis might say if the favourite was beat, it might say it's to be assumed that he wasn't fit or something. Well, I was there and it was fit. He got beaten on merit, and so I just wanted to put that. I want to put that out there that the favourite was. The favourite's no good because it was fair. It was that's as good as it is, sort of thing. It's not. Don't think that it disappointed because it wasn't fit, sort of thing. So, sorry, I forgot your question.
Yes, what prep do you put in the night before?
So watching watching videos. Just going through the card. Literally looking back at. I know, just looking at a card, I know I've got notes on horses, but most of it's in my head. So I will. The important thing is to try and price up the two handicap chases or the novice chases without looking at odds checker, pricing them up to about 105 at the most, and that gives me a massive start as to how I'm going to approach that race.
And how do you start with that? What is your anchor point for pricing the race up?
Start with the favourites, obviously. What's going to be favourite, and what would I be prepared to lay it at? Basically, what am I going to think that's going to be the market price? So. You just go from there really, and it's built around obviously the front 3 or 4 in the market, and and it's kind of second nature really. And it surprises me how wonky my numbers are to when I go on odds check and look at the price. I think, blimey, one of us is wrong, sort of thing, But it is frustrating. They're the times when you can't sleep because some things 4-1 you make it 9-4, and I'm not going to bet it the night before, but I might try and get on at 7:30 or whatever. And literally, you're just sort of thinking, is it going to still be there in the first thing in the morning, or is it going to be there at the by the time I get to the track? It could be any price, So they're the things that sort of make you that keep you awake at night.
So am I right in thinking then that if you are only betting on horses at meetings you actually go to, that you're really concentrating on a fairly small number of horses compared to people that try to encompass it all?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's part of specialising. When I moved up here, I used to go, when I was obviously working down south, I used to go to obviously jump on the train to Kempton, Ascot, Sandown, that kind of thing. And I didn't really follow racing in the north at all. So when I moved up here, I totally had to change tack and go racing at Catterick, Sedgefield, that kind of thing. It's a totally different sort of ball game. So I sort of made it my job to know the northern-based horses as good as anybody else, or as better than anybody else, so I can just reel off in my head. I know what that horse looks like when it's at its peak. I know its form, its track, what the tracks it likes, all that kind of thing. I try and log that in my brain as much as you can, and specialise in certain trainers, certain tracks, certain horses, and just kind of stick to them. But that does narrow your betting opportunities. And as I've evolved, I watch far more racing around the whole of the UK, and because I have to really, because you have to produce the turnover, and you can't just do that if you're just betting 2 handicap chases a day or a novice hurdle. So I do try and do much more now than I used to.
Okay, so how do you manage your staking?
Not easy. It's just staying in the. I'm kind of in the comfort zone, probably too much. It's not a bad thing, but I think to continue to evolve and to get bigger and stronger, I think you do need to keep pushing on the boundaries if you can, as long as you're still winning. Staking can be difficult if you're wanting to get to back something that's 10 or 12-1, and I'm not going to get much of a stake on if I'm trying to get it on the accounts. So I've got to accept I'm only going to get a small amount on, and then if I get to the track, if I'm going to the track that day and it's 8-1, then I'll just top it up. If I still want to back it, sort of thing.
Right. So how big a punter would you say you are?
Well, everyone has their sort of view of where they stand. I'm certainly not a big hitter, but clearly you have to bet to a certain level. The turnover has to be there. You just have to turn it over. I think my being critical, my issue is that I probably bet too much in too lower stakes. I think I probably need to have fewer bets but bigger bets. And
do you have a betting bank that's kept totally separate?
That's very difficult. Not really, to be honest. After all these years, you kind of know what the kind of amount that you need lying around. Really, it's not. I think that's very difficult because you've got accounts, you've got cash for the track, you've got Betfair that you need, that you're turning over all sorts of amounts. It's too hard to sort of, if you're too wound up in the admin side of things, it can really mess with your head. So yeah, try not to worry too much about it.
So apart from getting on, which most people would say, what's your biggest frustration as a punter?
Blimey, it's a hell of a question. I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest. Getting on, there's all sorts of things on arguments on Twitter about getting on, but I mean they've been going on for 20 years, Simon. You know, I mean, if you've got to find a way to. I mean, if Patrick Veach can get on and Neil Channing can get on, and you know you'll find a way. I think it's frustrating for guys betting in fivers and tenors that are having their accounts restricted, because I think that's just ridiculous, to be honest. That would be very frustrating, and I don't think that's right. But as I say, I don't really have that. I mean, I've got 3 accounts maybe that I can use now. One that's been very good to me and they'll lay pretty much whatever I want. But I've never taken the mickey. You know, if I've priced it up at 5-2 and it's 6, then I'll just have to have a bet. I'll just have £100, and they'll get the message sort of thing, and it'll be 4. You know, I'm not going to ask for 6 monkeys. You know, because it's always been like that. So. You know, you've got to be fair to if you want decent sized bets, you've got to be fair to the firms as well, I think.
So what's the biggest frustration apart from getting on?
I don't think I have any, to be honest. I mean, I'm really happy with my sort of working, and I'm in a pretty good place. It's been sort of 4 or 5 years, and I think a lot of people are sort of starting to look at me and think, "What, you still doing it?" sort of thing, you know. And I think, well, I didn't go into it thinking that I was going to fail. I mean, every business, I think, is it 4 out of 5 businesses fail within a year, and then of those that get to 5 years, 4 out of 5 of those fail. You know, so I'm probably in a good place. But I never, for 1 second, thought it wouldn't sort of work. You know, so I keep it as simple as possible, Simon. I think, you know, just go. Ultimately, I just want to go racing. I'm just going racing, enjoying myself, punting. Writing the blog, which is sort of, you know, I wanted to keep writing, so I'm still doing that, you know. So it's all good, really.